Robin Williams spotted at a party on the 10th of August, 2014, a day before he committed suicide. The famous comedian was suffering from severe depression and Parkinson's as well. A brain tissue exam revealed the presence of diffuse Lewy body dementia, which was a critical factor in his death. Williams hanged himself with a belt on the 11th of August, 2014, at the age of 63. Albert Einstein clicked outside his home in March 1955. Einstein, the most famous scientist in history, succumbed to aortic aneurysm, died on the 18th of April, 1955. Robert F. Kennedy, after being shot in the head on the 5th of June, 1968, against the advice of his bodyguard, Kennedy took a shortcut to the kitchen at the Ambassador Hotel in L.A. He was shot 3 times by Sirhan Sirhan, and 5 others were also wounded. His last words were, "Is everyone all right?" Kennedy died the next morning. Heath Ledger on the sets of the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus before he died of accidental intoxication from prescribed drugs. Heath Ledger will be forever remembered for his role in The Dark Knight and many other movies. Since active celebs are photographed very often, this remains one of his last photos ever taken. He died on the 22nd of January, 2008. Amy Winehouse, pictured walking in North London a week before her death, in July 2011, the former Grammy Award winner joined the tragic 27 Club with the likes of Kurt Cobain, passing away at the same age. Winehouse died of alcohol poisoning on the 23rd of July, 2011. John Lennon signs an autograph for David Chapman, who shot him later that day on the 8th of December, 1980. John signed a copy of Double Fantasy for Chapman on his way out of his New York apartment. When he returned home at night, he was shot 4 times on the back right outside the building. Anne Frank clicked with her sister Margot sometime during mid-1942. This was supposedly the last picture of Anne before her family was arrested on the 4th of August, 1944. She died the next year in a Jewish concentration camp, most likely of an epidemic that killed around 17,000 prisoners. She was aged only 15. James Dean, pictured with his new Porsche during his last refueling stop on September 30th, 1955, Dean was earlier booked for speeding and was on his way to a racing event in Salinas, California. He crashed into a Ford Tudor and could not escape the car wreck without sustaining many fatal injuries. He was pronounced dead at 6:20 p.m. that very day. His car was said to be haunted and was known as the Little Bastard. Princess Diana, on the back seat looking back as her driver and bodyguard look into the camera, seconds before the crash on the 31st of August, 1997, around midnight. The crash proved fatal for the Princess of Wales, her boyfriend Dodi Fayed, and driver Henry Paul. Her bodyguard survived the crash. There were many conspiracies and theories as to why the crash happened. She was only 36. Bob Marley, photographed shortly before his death, spending time with his family while battling cancer. Marley died on the 11th of May, 1981, due to the spread of melanoma to his brain and lungs. He was 36 years old. Adolf Hitler's last photo clicked 2 days before his death. As he surveys the damage at the Führer bunker in Berlin, Hitler committed suicide along with his wife on the 30th of April, 1945. He shot himself and his wife bit into a cyanide pill. Their bodies were set on fire immediately before the Soviets could invade the bunker. The lead singer of Queen, Freddie Mercury, clicked for the final time in 1991. Freddie died of bronchial pneumonia resulting from AIDS on the 24th of November, 1991. He was arguably one of the greatest singers in history. Elvis Presley drives into Graceland with his fiancée one last time on the 16th of August at 12:28 a.m. He was found dead on the bathroom floor by his fiancée, Ginger Alden, in the afternoon of the 16th. His cause of death was determined to be cardiac arrhythmia. Steve Jobs last photographed days before dying of a long battle with pancreatic cancer. Steve Jobs died on the 5th of October, 2011. The genius was surrounded by his family when he finally succumbed to the disease. Paul Walker clicked in the Porsche that minutes later crashed, resulting in his death on the 30th of November, 2013. Actor Paul Walker was driving out of a charity with his friend Roger Rodas, who was driving the 2005 Porsche Carrera GT. The car crashed into a lamppost and 2 trees and was set ablaze. Both men died. Wiley Post and Will Rogers photographed before their final flight on the 15th of August, 1935. Wiley Post was the first pilot to fly solo around the world. He set out to travel again with his good friend and famous comedian, Will Rogers. This photo shows Will Rogers standing on the wing. He built a hybrid plane using old parts. They took off soon after, but post his experimental Lockheed Explorer seaplane crashed due to engine failure. Amelia Earhart clicked before taking her final flight. Her death has forever been a mystery. In an attempt to circumnavigate the Earth on a plane, her plane disappeared and her body was never found. Based on records and radio transmissions, Earhart disappeared on the 2nd of July, 1939, at the age of 39. Rock God. Jim Morrison photographed on the 28th of June, 1971, with his girlfriend 5 days before his death. Jim Morrison was found in a bathtub, and the cause of death was determined to be heart failure. He is also a member of Club 27, dying at the same age as many other artists. WWE superstar, The Ultimate Warrior, clicked on the night he made a comeback. After 18 years, Warrior died the very next day, and some say that what he said in the ring was sort of his own eulogy. Every man's heart one day beats its final beat, his lungs breathe a final breath. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others and makes them bleed deeper and something larger than life, then his essence, his spirit, will be immortalized. By the storytellers, by the loyalty, by the memory of those who honor him and make the running, the man did live forever. He died on the 8th of April, 2014. Jimi Hendrix clicked with his famous guitar, Black Betty. A day before he died, Hendrix had aspirated his own vomit and had taken an overdose of prescribed sleeping tablets. He died on the 18th of September, 1970, and the Club 27 took another victim. Christopher McCandless, the famous American traveler, poses for his last photo with a goodbye note in his hand on the 12th of August, 1992. Chris McCandless, or Alexander Supertramp, as he called himself, ventured into the Alaskan forest in April 1992, low on supplies and food. He died of starvation in August of that month. He poses with his last letter here that reads, "I have had a happy life and thank the Lord. Goodbye and may God bless all." Benazir Bhutto was shot by a gunman as she stood in the sunroof. Seconds after this photo was taken on the 27th of December, 2007, Benazir Bhutto was returning from a rally and stood out of the sunroof of her bulletproof car to wave at the crowd. A gunman came next to her car and shot her. There was also an explosion that killed 20 people, and the impact of it tossed the wounded Bhutto, causing blunt trauma. One of the last photos of the king of pop, Michael Jackson. As he rehearses for his final set of shows, MJ was found dead before his "This Is It" tour could begin. He died of acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication after suffering from cardiac arrest on June 25, 2009. John F. Kennedy in his motorcade a minute before he was assassinated on the 22nd of November, 1963. More commonly known as JFK, the American president made his through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, when he was shot at 12:30 p.m. by a sniper. His wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, was next to him on the back seat. Martin Luther King photographed during one of his final interviews in April 1968. The African-American civil rights promoter was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, on the 4th of April, 1968. King was 39 years old. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's last photograph before he died. On the 12th of April, 1945, FDR had sat down for a painting and told the artist that they only had 15 minutes left to finish it. He then suddenly clutched his head and slumped into a coma after suffering a massive cerebral hemorrhage. USA's longest-serving president, who saw the country through the Great Depression and Second World War, was dead.